All right, after you have the outline of all of your drawing done, you want to erase your grid lines. The reason being is you don't want to start shading it in with and then get stuck with the grid lines there, because then you're going to see them at the end. And the grid is supposed to be a tool to help you draw, but it's supposed to be like a secret. This is this technique that lots and lots of artists use. When you saw those murals earlier in the assignment, when you had to look at different murals, this is especially helpful when you're trying to take a small idea and put it on a large image. Some of them use stencils, but a lot of them will use this kind of gridding idea to get it to the size that they want proportionally. So you're going to erase it, and then you're going to start shading in using the pencil. So I'm going to start with the dress right here. And you want to change the pressure of your pencil so that you get the values you see over here. So if you are pressing really hard, you're going to get a really dark value. If you press really, really light, you're going to get a really light value. Okay. So we're going to start, and this is kind of a medium value. So I'm just going to press kind of lightly. And it's getting a little bit lighter as it comes over here. Okay, so it's darker over here and then it gets lighter. If you are using a photocopy, you can do this to see, does it match? And if you're looking at it, you're like, oh, it's not dark enough, you can go back and darken it in so that it matches the value. If you're using a value scale, if you have your value scale, you can compare that to it as well. All right, so I'm coming over here. This is almost white. If I look up at this part, it looks white, so I'm not going to really do much there. I'm going to do this little tiny value here, and then there's that darker value in that part where her arm is coming out, and it gets a little bit darker here. And notice I went kind of dark on my outline, and I need to erase that because I don't want it to be super dark. I want it to match the picture. So I'm going to go ahead and lighten it and erase that so that it can blend in. All right, so I got the top part of this happening. I'm going to start doing the pleats and the ruffles of the skirt. So I'm going to start up here. And again, I'm just looking at the picture over here and trying to match the values. Because even though we know this is probably a white, maybe it could be like a pale blue or pale yellow dress. This is a very light colored dress, but this is a black and white picture. And it's very, very important not to confuse value with color, because value is the lightness and darkness of whatever color it is. And in black and white picture, you don't necessarily know what color something was because you're just seeing it as gray. Okay, right here, I'm losing track. It helps me to put my finger where I am so I don't lose track. So right here, I need to get a little darker right here. Okay, I'm going to come down into this because I don't want to stop at the edge of where my grid was, because then it's going to start to look but like a box, which is not what I want. I want it to be seamless, blending into each other. And this little girl has had fun in her dress. It's got some wrinkles in it. You can tell that she has been playing and having fun, not sitting still and neat. To erase some more. Come over here. And this is a little bit darker than over in this white area. So even though it's light, we don't want to leave it white. Another trick is if you turn your pencil sideways like this, you can get a softer value and less lines happening than if you're trying to color like this. If you start to see scratches in your paper, you probably need to sharpen your pencil. All right, so now I'm down here. It's darker right here in this little ruffle crease here. Going up here. And this part right here is darker than that middle part. I'm going to come back up in this area. And again, you can see some of these. I'm going to do this dark section here. You can see there's still some of these little wrinkles from her having fun and playing around. And even in this part, you can see some of those areas are lighter. So you can go back in with your eraser if you need to add highlights. It's gradually getting lighter as it comes out of that shadow. And I'm just going to keep following that process. And as I go, I can kind of do this to see how am I doing on matching my values. And if it looks like, ooh, it's too dark, I can go back and erase. If it looks like it's too light, and add more layers of value. So you're going to continue doing this. Make sure you get rid of that grid. And this, I made it, it's almost too flat right now. I need to add a little bit of kind of light shading right here. You can use your finger to kind of smudge it. This will, though, make your fingers dirty. So if that bothers you, another tip is you can use a Q-tip to kind of smear and blend, but you want to make sure you don't get too crazy, because if you get too crazy with your smudging and your blending, it's going to all just look like one big smear. So you don't want to do that either. And I'm going to try to make some of these little highlights from the wrinkles in here. All right. Moving down to her legs. They're very, very dark because they're cast in the shadow of her dress. So sometimes a lot of drawing is just really using your eraser. Erasers are not just for when you make a mistake or change your mind. Erasers are also tools for drawing. I'm erasing that line so she doesn't have that hard edge there. Okay, so we got the legs. All right, so now I got that main part. I'm going to come up and work on her arm. It's really light up here, and then it gets darker as it goes down. And then we have this kind of like crease right here. Make that a little bit darker. And it's darker here at the bottom. Use my finger to soften it, but that made it really dark, so I can go back with my eraser.